Jackson Kennedy with 4th Street Sports reporting live from Sunbelt Football Media Day. And here's Dima.
And welcome to Sunbelt Media Days, Day 1. Jackson, we've been up since 4 a.m.
Yeah.
It has been a wild day. It is about 3:30, so about 12 hours since I woke up this morning and was like, you got to be kidding me. We got to go to New Orleans today. Jackson, we were in traffic.
Traffic was an understatement.
Standstill
traffic. A truck was turned around on the highway. An entire tool trailer that had a roof was flattened. I don't know how that's possible. And there was another truck there that was somehow wrecked. And we were just kind of wondering. We couldn't even spend time wondering on it because we were in standstill traffic for so long. We were like, hey, my first ever interview with anything football related, my first ever interview in an official capacity, I'm going to be late for. It was at 7 a.m., but you know what? Dima's driving that I've been warned about actually came in the rescue today. I had multiple members sit me down and interviewing for 4th Street, like, hey, look out for Dima's driving. But you know what? It came in clutch today, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, it did. We're here in New Orleans. This is instant reactions here, reacting to a lot of information thrown at us Day 1 here at Sunbelt Media Day. That is Jackson Kennedy. Welcome to Instant Reaction, your first ever. It's pretty cool. As always, for people who have been watching the channel, I'm Dima Mixon. You've probably gotten tired of me. I was making sure our mic was on. But yeah, Jackson, we heard from Keith Gill. We heard from the entire Sunbelt West. So all the teams that Southern Miss will be playing this season for sure. You heard from Louisiana, ULM, Arkansas State, South Alabama, all of those teams. Want to start with, we got Will Hall for about 20 minutes this morning, as you said, at 7 a.m. It seemed very relaxing. And one thing that stood out to me the most, I think, was he seems at a different level of confidence. It's not a confidence merely based on just the fact that, they have like an actual quarterback, but like it's a confidence based on the fact that, okay, this is the year I can finally run my offense. And I think that's what Southern Miss fans can kind of take away from Media Day 1. What do you think?
Well, yeah, so one big thing is, and one thing that I, as you can tell, if you see in my face, I'm brand new to this. But one thing that I've really appreciated is that at these media days, you can just walk around and talk with whoever. And so while we were waiting on Louisiana to start up, I actually walked over and I talked with our athletic director, Jeremy McLean, and we had about a 5-6 minute conversation. And I asked him his level of confidence in the football team this year. And he said, and I quote, "We've got a good shot. We've got a good shot." And I was talking with him, and he was right. I mean, if you think about it, from your coverage in the spring, we learned that Southern Miss finally has an offensive line that is something to, kind of behold. Whenever Will Hall first came in the program, there were 7 offensive linemen on scholarship. Now there are 17. There are 3 full rotations of offensive linemen that they can cycle in and out. Everybody knows what they're doing. Everybody's experienced, and it's something really exciting to see because, last year in football, we saw the beginning of that offensive line, and that caused a lot of woes. Ty Keys was injured. Zach Wilkie didn't have enough time to throw. Frank Gore Jr.'s stats at rushing at the beginning of the year, they weren't all that great. And then those last 2 games, Dima, that offensive line, I mean, everybody talks about Frank Gore Jr.'s performance, which was incredible. It was something just absolutely mind-blowing to watch. And at the time, as a fan, sitting in the student section, incredible experience. But if you look at it more objectively, you realize, like, hey, this was a lot to do with the offensive line. And the fact that offensive line got older throughout the season, got more experience throughout the season, I mean, give them one more off season. I think we are going to see some very special things from the offensive line. What about you, Dima?
Yeah, the offensive line is definitely something that I think a lot of people are excited about. Obviously, you got your Bryson Mays back, who's supposed to be pretty good. He was good last year. And you feel good about the offensive line, very veteran. And just like I was saying, you have the Will Hall's able to run his offense with a quarterback. And I think that he did confirm today that Billy Wiles and Holman Edwards are your 2 kind of front runners going into fall camp. He said he's going to make a decision. There is going to be a decision on the starting quarterback position, on the quarterback position before the end of fall camp. So I would assume we are expecting something like the week before The Alcorn State game might even be the week of, but I feel like you want to do it the week before so you can kind of give them a game week prep. That's normally what they like to do. So it seemed like you could see it like August 20, 22nd, something like that. I don't know. But so it's just encouraging to know that, for Will Hall especially, to have an offense. And we heard from the commissioner this morning, Keith Gill, talked a lot about just the growth of the Sun Belt, which I think is very, very accurate. When I look around, I was here last year, Jackson, you weren't. I mean, there wasn't this many media people here last year, and you already see the growth in media people, media members. And he said that there was, I think, 39 million views or something like that.
I think he said it was 35-ish million views, 39. But the thing is, what's more important is that was a viewership increase of over 100%. And the Sun Belt brand has been put out there. He very much credited the marketing teams and the advertisement teams, but one thing that I think was a little bit more beneficial, and maybe it's because we're selfish and homers, but the addition of 4 new teams that carry pretty historic brands. I mean, if you think of Southern Miss back in the 80s and 90s, everyone knew Southern Miss. Everyone was afraid of them. And Marshall and Old Dominion and JMU. JMU has such a storied football tradition. And once they get over this weird thing of a rule where they can't make a bowl game, I could very, very much see JMU competing for the conference championship nearly every year. And so adding those programs into an already exciting Sun Belt made for one of the most exciting conferences to watch last season, and without a doubt, the best Group of 5 conference heading into this year.
Yeah, I think it's hard to argue that it's not the best Group of 5, and I think it's going to continue to be the best Group of 5, and I think that's what Keith Gill was kind of getting at. We have expanded playoff next season, 2024, 12 teams. They're going to let the best Group of 5 team be in the playoff every single year, so that's going to give an opportunity for one of these Sun Belt teams to be in the college football playoff, Jackson, which is something that it's just not something you come this year thinking, whoever the best team in the Sun Belt is, South Alabama, whatever it is, they could play for a national championship. And now with the expanded playoff, that is a possibility. And something we're actually going to talk about, you can check us out, 4th Street Sports Show on our podcast. We're going to be giving how soon we think Southern Miss is away from potentially appearing in a college football playoff berth.
Not too far off.
Yeah, you never know. So, I mean, with a 12-team playoff, it seems like that it's possible, right? So, but transitioning a little over to the players, Cole Cavallo, Jay Stanley here today. Just great feedback from Cole. Frank Gore Jr. was supposed to be here at Sunbelt Media Day. Cole found out pretty late, I think he said Friday, that he was going to be here instead of Frank. Nothing's wrong with Frank. He just had a kid, so he needs to be a daddy and feed him and change diapers and stuff like that. So, he's not going to be able to do that in fall camp because he's going to be so busy. So, but I felt like Cole gave some really good insight on working with these quarterbacks.
Yeah, no, Cole, just having somebody on the offense talking, and you can really see like a light in his eyes, and it seems he's going in his head. Obviously you're not going to say it out loud, but it seems like in his head he's like, finally, because, a good friend of the show, Chuck McRaney of the Everyday Eagles podcast, always would make a bold prediction before every game of like, hey, I think a tight end is going to be used really well. Because, Dima, we really haven't seen much from the tight ends. And I think that with an expanded passing game and with Jason Brownlee not being on the team anymore.
Yeah, and that's actually what Cole said. He said, we weren't really utilized that much because when you had some of the quarterbacks from last year, they would just throw it up to Jason Brownlee because they knew he could catch it. So they really weren't developing because the quarterback play has been so questionable. But now with exceptional quarterback play and Will Hall being able to run the offense, you can utilize the tight end more. And I think I remember the last time they really utilized it the best was against Alabama in 2021 when they played on the road. I can't remember.
That was Tyke's first start.
Yeah, and I feel like they used the tight end a lot in that game. I think you could see very similar to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, bouncing back to what I said earlier about my conversation with Jeremy McLean, we actually talked with that. We talked I told Jeremy, I was like, correct me if I'm wrong, but we haven't ever really gotten to see Will Hall's full offensive prowess. We haven't gotten to see his offensive mind. some people may not know this, especially if you haven't really followed the show for that long, but Will Hall won the D2 equivalent of a Heisman. He was a gunslinger. He was an incredible quarterback. And the only reason why he wasn't recruited by these bigger programs is just because of his size. But that doesn't take away from his talent at all. He's always been an offensive mind, and he comes from, a coaching family. And one thing that I am so incredibly excited is just to see what he has in store, because since before he ever coached a game, he's always said in interviews, Dima, I am looking to make this a quarterback-driven program. We need to have a quarterback-driven program, and that's what he's been saying over and over. And for so many, and I mean so many reasons, that hasn't been the case. But finally, it seems, not only is there competition, but there is depth, and the good kind of depth at quarterback.
And what's funny is we said all this last year. We said all this last year when Ty Keys was announced the starter. We were like, you know what? He's going to have a quarterback. 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 They get out there Liberty game 1. They're running the super back again. So obviously we're not going to speak that into existence. But I think that it does help at least a bit that they got 2 transfers in. You got Billy Wiles, you got Holman Edwards, you got Zach Wilkie, and you got Kyle McCormick, and you got Jake Lang. So you at least feel like if it happens a third year in a row, which would be ridiculous, but honestly,
never see another quarterback.
It'd just be super back. Yeah. So not speaking that into existence, but yeah, exactly what you're saying. So I mean, Will Hall knows what he's doing. This is why he was hired to coach at Southern Miss, was to run his offense, because I mean the offense really has not been good that much, except for outside of the Nick Mullins year where he went crazy. I mean, it hasn't been to the extent that it should be at. College football is an offensive game right now. Going to the defensive side, the defense is very, very talented, very veteran. But, I mean, you really need to score 28, 30 points to win a college football game now. I mean, that's not an unreasonable thing to ask. You can't be winning games 21 to 20. I mean, they'll take it if they win it that way. But, you would rather have an offense where you can score at least 4 touchdowns a game. I think 4 touchdowns a game is not unreasonable. So, anyways, that's about it as far as the offense. I feel like we got a lot of good feedback from the players. I feel like we got good feedback from Will Hall. We'll have everything on the site. You can go check it out, sm2media.com. It'll be everything that Will Hall said from the podium. On this very YouTube page, we'll actually link it in this video. You can see our exclusive interview with Will Hall, Jay Stanley, and Cole Cavallo. And then, Jackson, you're going to have an article out later tonight, probably be on the site by the time you're watching this, about your 3 main takeaways from Sunbelt Media Day. There will be a lot more of this chatter. So if you like this, go check out our podcast, 4th Street Sports Show. We're fixing to go to one of these tables right here and record a podcast. It's just, I don't like being on camera, and I'm kind of tired of being on camera. I'm just kidding. I like instant reaction. It's fun. But, so, Jackson, any last thoughts?
Well, so a couple things. I just wanted to mention, because Dima's very much tired of being on camera. No, I think he's just tired of standing. Yeah, but I mean, I have too. Anyways, so one of the bigger takeaways that I found it interesting, because as soon as Southern Miss was added to the Sun Belt, my mind immediately went to, I want the Sun Belt to expand more. I want to immediately add Tulane and Memphis and ECU and Liberty or something like that, or some combination of that. Keith Gill said, we are comfortable with where we're at.
I think it makes sense.
And, yeah, it does make sense. You don't want to oversaturate the market. You don't want to...
It's not a super conference.
Yes. They're not trying to build a super conference. And one of the bigger points, he said, we wanted to focus on regional rivalries. That is what has made the Sun Belt so special. I mean, and if you think about that, that is why the turnout at Southern Miss games have been so crazy. I mean, you think about the Ragin' Cajuns basketball game, the 5th largest crowd in Reed Green Coliseum history. And that was against Louisiana. It wasn't against Memphis. It wasn't against some big name. It was because of that regional rivalry, and that's what I think is so special. So I'm excited to see them build upon that, but that's about it for me.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a regional rivalry with Memphis too. It's one of the more rival. I mean, Southern Miss fans would like to play Memphis more, obviously, because it's a very big rivalry. But you're exactly right. And the rivalry that Southern Miss now has with Louisiana, the rivalry they're starting with South Alabama, 2 big rivalries right there. They're kind of rekindling this Tulane thing, I mean, I think it's looking up. You like it, and because you can drive everywhere. We were looking at the schedule, like, what games are we going to this year? We're like, we can go to pretty much all of them because they're all drivable. So, but yeah, so go to this website, sm2media.com. see the stories. Go to our podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever. I don't even know. Where else can you listen to a podcast, Jackson? Anywhere. Yeah, that's where you can listen to 4th Street Sports Show. We're going to go right over here in just a few minutes to record about an hour-long episode, so a lot more of this. I know you like it. So I'm Dima Mixon. That's Jackson Kennedy here live in New Orleans for day 1 of Sunbelt Media Day. Thanks for watching.